Hi, everybody. You can tell from my clothes I'm recording all three of these posts that are related on the same day. I don't want you to think I don't change my clothes. In the last post, I identified the reading source as a letter from the Birmingham jail by Dr. King. I want to pick up with that today because here he talks about our responsibility to be co-workers with God. Now, we talk about that a fair amount in the church, being co-creators with God, whether it's working for the environment or for internal environments or for sociological structures that will change the world, that will treat people more justly. Now, I don't know what's happening each of these evenings as far as protests go across the country. I'm recording this actually on Wednesday, June 3rd. It's following a week of demonstrations, almost all of them peaceful. So let's pick up with what Dr. King has to say. And again, I've changed a little bit of the language to make it more appropriate for today. But I'm confident that the meaning remains the same. And I'm lifting sections out. This is not the whole letter, but I urge you to go online to read the whole letter. It's powerful, and it speaks to every age and every generation, wherever there is injustice and wherever the people of faith are being challenged to live their faith. So I'm picking up with this section today, where he writes, I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that law and order exist for the purpose of establishing justice, and that when they fail in this purpose, they become the dangerously structured dams that block the flow of social progress. I had hoped that the white moderate would understand that the present tension today is a necessary phase of the transition from an obnoxious negative peace in which the Negro passively accepted his unjust plight, to a substantive and positive peace in which all people will respect the dignity and worth of human personality. I want to pause there. I think many of us who are white think of ourselves probably either as, well, we think of ourselves as noble, don't we? And we think of ourselves as virtuous. At least I hope we do. Where you fall on the spectrum of conservative, progressive, liberal, outlandish, that's up to you. The point that is being made here is that we need to be allies. People who look like me need to be allies for people who look like my children with brown skin. We need to be allies, and that means we can't be silent, and that means we have to stop questioning motives. There is a negative piece and a positive piece. The negative piece is where folks just passively accept that something is unjust because that's the situation they find themselves in. The positive piece happens when all people respect the dignity and worth of each other. He continues, actually, we who engage in nonviolent direct action, like what we're seeing with the protests, right, are not the creators of tension. We merely bring to the surface the hidden tension that is already alive. We bring it out in the open, where it can be seen and dealt with, like a boil that can never be cured as long as it's covered up, but must be opened up with all its ugliness to the natural medicines of air and light. Injustice must be exposed, with all the tension its exposure creates, to the light of human conscience and the air of national opinion before it can be cured. I mean, just as an aside, I fear that A lot of people who look like me are afraid. We're afraid to open up Pandora's box, if you will, of all of the great injustices that our ancestors perpetuated. We're afraid because we don't want to deal with the hurt and the pain that they caused. Are we guilty and are we responsible? We're guilty and responsible of not honoring it, of not saying, yep, that was really awful. I can't believe they did that. I don't stand with them. But none of us gets to choose our past, do we? We don't get to choose who among our ancestors were slaveholders or who among our ancestors were slaves. What we have to do is look at where we are today and act accordingly by acknowledging what was. We can't move on. Why do you think this country hasn't been able to move on? Because we've never acknowledged it, unlike South Africa, I might add. Dr. King writes, now is the time to make real the promise of democracy. It's like he's writing to us today. And transform our pending national elegy into a creative psalm of brotherhood and sisterhood. Now is the time to lift our national policy from the quicksand of racial injustice to the solid rock of human dignity. Oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. The yearning for freedom eventually manifests itself. Was not Jesus an extremist? He was an extremist for love. Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. Was not the prophet Amos an extremist for justice? Let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Was not Martin Luther an extremist? Here I stand. I cannot do otherwise. So help me, God. And Thomas Jefferson, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men and women are created equal. So the question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. Will we be extremists for hate or for love? Will we be extremists for the preservation of injustice or the extension of justice? Perhaps our nation and the world are in dire need of creative extremists. I had hoped that the white moderate would see this need. Perhaps I was too optimistic. Perhaps I expected too much. I suppose I should have realized that few members of the oppressor race can understand the deep groans and passionate yearnings of the oppressed race. And still fewer have the vision to see that injustice must be rooted out by strong, persistent, and determined action. I am thankful, however, that some of our white brothers and sisters have grasped the meaning of this social revolution and committed themselves to it. Have we committed ourselves to it? Do we know what we can do if we're not in a position physically to get out and march and protest? Are we doing those things? Clearly, at the very least, is one of the most powerful tools we have, and that is prayer. Pray without ceasing. Pray that we are experiencing birth pains, that we are birthing finally, something new and better. It's not false labor again. Pray that we can be used as instruments for bringing about the KOG, the kingdom of God, here on this earth, at least in our little corner of it. Will everybody come on board? Of course not. We're the United States. We never reach 100% agreement about anything. You don't have to have everybody to make a change. It takes the work of a few committed people. Tomorrow we'll have the third and final reading from a letter from the Birmingham jail. It will be the part about the role of the church. For right now, I think that gives us enough to think about today. I'm Pastor Deb Swift of South Presbyterian Church in Rochester, New York. As I said yesterday, a proud alum of Colgate Rochester Crozier Divinity School. In fact, when I graduated 30 years ago 2 months ago, how time flies. When I graduated, I was given the option of which hood to wear of all of the member schools. And I'm proud to say that I wear a Crozier hood. Some of you will know what that means. At any rate, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us for a prayerful pause. You can find more meditations, some like this, some totally different, along with worship services on our YouTube channel, South Church Rochester on YouTube. Hope to see you there. Hope to see you back here next time. Be well, be safe. Keep the faith, or find the faith, or resurrect the faith. God bless. Bye for now.